Okay, let us begin today's practice. So before we even close our eyes, just for the first 2 minutes, we will practice one of the methods given in the Vijnana Bhairava, where we gaze at one point, trying to hold the gaze of the eyes fixed at one point, without as much as possible, trying not to blink, but trying to be focused on some point in front of you, some non-moving fixed object. You can place your eye gaze on that. This sends a clear message to the mind and to the senses that we want to be focused, we want to be intentional, purposeful, and rise above the thoughts of duality, perceptions of duality, by trying to hold that gaze for a while. And try to see if you can do it in a relaxed way, holding the gaze but being relaxed. Physically relaxed. Now you can gently close your gaze. As your gaze closes, just try to be aware of the kind of the perception behind the closed darkness, that presence of the divine. Invoke that presence of the divine, of your own higher self, of that one universal, non dual being, consciousness, the one reality. And with that, we will mentally, you can join me in saying a prayer. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now, as those of you who've been coming for these earlier sessions are familiar, we start with one of the breathing practices where we take a deep inhalation and exhale out with a slight ha sound. And there we feel that complete abiding, letting go, and resting in that open space of awareness, letting go of all thoughts, all things that we are mentally, emotionally clinging on to. And feel that spacious, open awareness, that non-dual consciousness, that Sat, Chit, Ananda. You're resting in that. So let us do that a few times. Take a deep breath, feel that breath filling in physically, emotionally, mentally. It is casting out and bringing you back to that pure nature of your being. The word ha, it's that syllable used as a visarga in Sanskrit. And yet, that portal to that openness, that sky like spacious awareness of our own being. One last time. Try to feel that the essence of all the teachings we have heard, the sense of all that ultimate truth, that one pure beingness, that one reality is that truth, the one that appears in everything. Everything else is a mere appearance based on that truth, that reality, which in this teachings we give the name of Shiva or Bhairava. So we somewhat mentally superimpose that entity of Bhairava or Shiva as the support on which we invoke our own oneness, our own self, our own true reality, other than what limited identity we have taken ourselves to be. So, with a heart filled with a kind of a reverential feeling, pure feeling, we invoke the truth of this one all pervading being, whether we want to call it as self, God, whatever, nature, as this one truth, that one reality that pervades everything, all the seen world from that earth to the skies in all directions are pervaded by this Shiva Tattva. So use whatever support, either the form of Shiva or the formless blueness of the skies, the space, as a support. So within and without, perceive that one essence of Shiva Tattva, Bhairava, pervading everywhere. As the shloka says, Yatra Yatra Manoyati Bhavya Vabhyantarepi Va Tatra Tatra Shiva Vasta Vyapakatvatkva Yasyati. Wherever the mind goes, into our internal world or outer world, there we bring that idea of that presence of that pure essential beingness, that Shiva Tattva that pervades everyone, everything, and is the essence of my own being. So for a few minutes, we will just meditate on this, being in that presence, feeling that divinity, invoking that presence within and without. Navasprisham Deeptamanekavarnam, says the Bhagavad Gita, that from that skies all the way to this, everything in the earth in all directions are pervaded by that Lord or that beingness. So wherever the mind goes, whatever it thinks of, we don't need to necessarily forcibly control it, but we have to bring in that knowledge, that wisdom, that the essence of everything is that pure non-dual awareness, consciousness, that one reality, that one truth, that Shiva Tattva, which is the true reality on which all these forms, names, shapes, objects appear and dissolve back into again. Just as how in our waking and dreaming, all this world is perceived and experienced. And in that sleep, all of them are dissolved. No awareness of any of these. But that beingness remains all the time. So it helps also not just to use the intellect, but that feeling aspect of the mind, of the heart. That feeling is that expression of Shakti. And when we direct that feeling towards that Shiva Tattva, then that feeling becomes purified, transformed. All our outer emotions, when it's turned in this reverential, devotional feeling of Shakti, takes us back to the Shiva Tattva. So, with that feeling, try to invoke that indwelling, abiding presence, which is right behind our thoughts, right behind all our perceptions, that indwelling one presence that pervades everything. Wherever you are overwhelmed with other thoughts other than the Shiva Tattva, then you can take a couple of deep breaths and again exhale with that ha sound, with that feeling of sigh, letting go and resting in that open awareness, feeling that openness as you exhale out. And again, feeling that presence in that openness. It is sometimes easier to invoke the presence as that one truth rather than conceptually thinking of ourselves as the pure one consciousness. So, taking that support of that form or the formless aspect of Shiva Tattva, try to reach that state beyond thoughts, beyond conception, beyond the grasping of the mind or of the imagination. But yet, that presence, which has no forms but appears in all forms, which has no attributes but is the basis of all attributes that emerges. Yada Vedyam, Yada Grahyam, Yada Shunyam, Yada Bhavagam, Tat Sarvam Bhairavam Bhavyam, Tadante Bodha Sambhavaha. Anything that is known, anything that can be grasped at, anything that can be conceptually thought about, anything that can be objectified, that everything is not the essence of Bhairava. But yet contemplating on that which is beyond this grasping, beyond this knowing, beyond this imagination, and yet that one present reality is the means to realization, is the means to knowing the truth of ourselves and the truth of everything and everyone. So let us contemplate on that Bhairava, on that Shiva Tattva, not just out of faith, but out of a tangible presence behind everything we know, everything I see, everything I think of is this basic fundamental beingness, unconditioned awareness. The more we contemplate on that, the more it becomes our own experience, our own reality. The beauty of these practices is that we don't have to forcibly control the mind, although to some extent of control is helpful in the beginning. But wherever the mind goes, whatever the mind thinks of, when that wisdom comes, that very object, the basis of that object, the basis of that thought is where we bring our attention to. So turning that attention from that object to that substratum of that object, that awareness of that object, is the means to immediate freedom. It's the means to immediate awakening. Then the grasping of the object, the people, the circumstances will reduce, and the abiding in the self will take place. In the last couple of minutes, let us bring in an attitude of reverence, of bowing down to the Shiva Tattva, a feeling of gratitude, a feeling of letting go of everything in that pure beingness, trusting in that essence, that source of everything. Just mentally leaving all the cares and completely bowing inwardly, surrendering, trusting, and feeling that presence. If they either feeling of a man head bowed or the hands at the heart, invoking that beingness. Let us also bring an intention that as we go about our activities, whatever we do, wherever we go, may we always have this truth that we are always in the presence of that Shiva Tattva. We are always abiding in that self. So everywhere we go, may we know, recognize that we are always in that Bhairava, in that Shiva Tattva. Join me mentally as we bow to that Shiva Tattva, to our own self, our own beingness, the one non-dual presence. Shivam Shantam Jagannatham Lokanugrahakarakam Shivamekapadam Nityam Shikaraya Namo Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Om